Hello everybody, my name is Antonio and today I am going to do a analysis of a website through Schneiderman's user actions. And Ben Schneiderman is someone I found out about very recently. Uh, he is a famous UI designer. He's one of the first people to create a textbook based on UI design, and he's a really great computer science professor. And one of his mantras is overview first, zoom and filter, then details on demand. And this is part of his 7 user actions that he created that help define how great a web page is. And his actions are really important because they help define the user experience on a website and they help set the stage for how a lot of different websites of today have been created. Um, so what I've done today is I've created a rubric to attempt to holistically review a website based on Schneiderman's seven user actions. So his user actions are overview, zoom, filter, details on demand, relate, history, and extract. And I'm going to analyze a website based on these, and I've created 4 different categories. I did add an extra row, an extra action to look through because I believe that Schneiderman he does a great job at defining the functionality of a website. But I think in addition to that, the quality of a website is really based on the aesthetic value of the website. So for someone to want to use a website, it needs to look nice, it needs to be formatted nicely. And just because a website is functionality meeting all of Schneiderman's 7 user actions does not mean that it's a quality website. So that's why I added this extra thing here. So the website that we're going to be reviewing today is archive.org. And I don't know if any of you have seen this before. It's basically a nonprofit library of a lot of different books, movies, software, pictures, things like that. So we're going to start off as the homepage. The first thing that we're going to be looking at is the overview. So the overview, his Schneiderman's user action, is essentially to be able to get a quick look, a quick glance of everything on a page and understand the different affordances that are built into the page. So here on the homepage is one of the most important places to look for an overview. So you'll see we have a little description of the Internet Archive. We have the top collections, which is good to have top collections so you can keep scrolling. And this is actually an infinite scroll. So you can just keep scrolling and scrolling and you'll probably never run out of results. So there's a lot of things on the homepage. If someone wanted to go to a certain one, it's really hard to get back to what row they're looking at because these rows aren't distinguished by any kind of index or pagination or anything like that, which makes it a little difficult to look at. So one other thing that's interesting about this page is that you'd expect top collections to be either like the most items that you have in the archive or the most popular. Uh, it's definitely not by the most number of items because you can see it goes from 3.4 million and then down to 15,000 and back up to 678,000. So you'd expect it to be by popularity, but also just from an overview, you have no idea what defines that popularity marker, and that's really not helpful to me either. So in addition to the overview, we're going to be looking at the BIOS page, which are the people who work on this site. Um, so the very first time I loaded this page, there's a lot of content. So I'm just going to keep scrolling down. You see how small this scroll bar is on the right. So basically, a good thing about overview, a really important thing is to be able to scan pages easily. And from doing this, it's really not that great as these headers are barely bigger than the pictures on the page, as well as like these separators between bios aren't very helpful at all. Um, if I wanted to look for this specific Jeff Sharp, it's going to be really difficult unless I just Control F because I'm going to have no idea how to get to the Senior Digitization Manager section of this page. So it's really difficult to find what you're looking for. You're really just going to keep scrolling forever and forever. Um, this page is not a very good example of overview. One of the other things I wanted to mention in relation to overview is on one of the pages of items that we're going to look at. So I think it's really interesting that this page allows you to do 2 different kinds of general overview of the different content. In this case, it's the Internet software collection. So you can either do thumbnails or you can do this list here. And I think that's a really cool feature to have to be able to do it based on a list or like the size of the file, or you can just do the thumbnail. And the cool thing about the thumbnail is that it'll distinguish the difference between a collection and a product. So you know that these in the gray are collections, and you can see how many items are within them, and then you can see that these items that do not have gray around them are actually just singular items. So that's really easy to see at a glance. Uh, so we're going to go back to the analysis. Overall, I would give overview a 3 for this website. I think that this website does some things really well, um, but it's not the best that it could be, and it could definitely be better. Um, you can scan some of the pages, like you can really scan this page really well in seeing the different logos and different pictures. But an example is like the bio page was way too many details and really not very helpful at all. So next we're going to move on to Zoom. And Zoom in Schneiderman's user actions is a way to further investigate, get more information about a specific item without actually clicking on it and getting more details, which we'll discuss a little bit later. So this search page is pretty good at zooming, as I was explaining in the overview section. You can get a good overview of the different products, and if you hover over them, you know that you're looking at it. You know kind of where it goes. If you hover over one of these specific objects, it'll tell you which archive or which collection it's in, which is it's really nice to have to know where it belongs and what kind of category it fits in. So that's Zoom on this page. One other thing I wanted to show uh, in relation to Zoom was the advanced search page. So a lot of the pages for Zoom, like the header should be easily distinguishable and it should separate different content pretty easily and be very obvious. On this page, we have advanced search returning JSON XML, help with CSV and Excel, dates and ranges, all these different things that you need to search. And just by looking at this page, I get very overwhelmed. There's a lot of different things you could do on this page. If I was a user wanting to come here and just search by date, like search for archives posted in 2018, I would scroll through this whole thing. I would see, oh, dates and ranges. That might be what I want. But there's 10 different queries that you have to look through to figure out what you want it to do. Uh, I don't really know. I'm guessing I would use like the public date, but it's not obvious. And like, even scrolling up here, there's tons of fields here. So how am I going to know what to use? This is probably better suited to some sort of specialist. Um, the user interface, the design of this was really not well thought through at all. And it's not really easy to see what it is that you want to do on a certain page. So it's overwhelming. There's too much information here. Zoom is not great. So this is one of the bad examples of Zoom on this site. Going back to the Zoom category, overall, I think it also deserves a 3, just because further investing in content is really good, like on the search page that I was showing, but it's also really terrible on other pages. It's not clear, like on that advanced search page I was showing. But if you're not going to use advanced search, then the website's pretty nice in terms of Zoom overall. Next, we're going to move into filter, and filter is basically a way to separate items, find exactly what you want based on different characteristics. So we're going to come back to software, and we're going to go to all software. And as you can see on the left here are all the different filters that you can do, as well as these different sort bys on the top. So you can do it by views, you can do it by title, you can do it by date archives, as well as these different date added as well, which I think that's really helpful to be able to sort there. In addition, you can do these searches on the left, these filters. So as I said before, if you just want to do a 2018 search, it allows you to do that. And I get told that there are about 7,000 results. And then it'll do a search again to tell me what information is left in here. So if I want something published in the year 5500, I'll know that there's one of those, and I'll know that that can narrow to my search quite a lot. And that's really helpful to know. I, I'm not able to apply any filters that won't result in any items, and it's really clear what these are going to get me when I click them. So that is really great to do. Um, Next, we're going to go looking at one of the other features of filter, which I think is really important, is that when you search a collection, you don't want it to be like if you happen to type in something that doesn't exist, you don't want it to just display a blank page because that's really bad user interface design. You'll be looking at it and saying like, what did I do wrong? Is it still loading? But on this website, it will tell you that there were no matches found. So it'll tell you to try different keywords or doing more general searches, and that is really great. And it will um, tell you this feedback, and not leave you wondering whether it's just stuck in a search. So for filter, I would give filter a 4 because the main filter does a great job, and that advanced search that we looked at before in the zoom section is not great. But if you use the filter on the main side, uh, once you're actually in a collection, then it's really, really great. So next we're going to go to the details on demand section. And details on demand is a way to measure how great the app is at when you click on a specific object, whether it shows you all the details when you want them and not before you want them. Um, so let's go back. Let's go back to this software. So we're going to click on this cat and mouse. You can see the overview. You can see like the little picture. And when you click on the details on demand, you will notice that you can see the name of it. You can see that it's been designated with the software icon, who it's by, publication date, topics, the number of views, favorites, number of views, just overall, everything's relevant to what we're looking at. It'll give a description of it. It's not the most pleasant looking, but it is functional and it does tell you what you need to know. And even the reviews, this one doesn't appear to be very helpful to what we're looking at. Um, but having reviews is helpful. I've seen a few different pages that reported that the software had malware, which is a good thing to leave a review about so people don't download that product. So everything's relevant. It has everything that you need to know really about the product, who was uploaded by, everything like that. So going back, I would give details on a minute 4 because it's intuitive to get more information about the item and everything on the page is applicable. And there's way more information that you get on the search page that we were looking at. So next we're going to look at relate. And relate is a way to show the user how different pages or different items fit together. So on this page specifically, I will have to log in real quick. And after logging in, we'll come here, we'll come to my favorites because that's the page I want to show. And this is like the same view that we were on before. So this one was bundled with virus detections, I guess. But going back to the relate. So scrolling down the page, you can see it gives similar items based on the metadata of the page. So all of these are pretty clearly related to the game I'm looking at, which is Bejeweled Deluxe. This is like a pretty old computer game, and all of these are pretty much in the same genre. You can easily tell that they're all video games, and they're all created in the same kind of style that Bejeweled was. Um, and just by looking at the pictures, you can understand the relationship. One of the other things is that you can click on it, and it'll take you to the recommendation of the page you're looking at. And there it goes. There it loads. Um, so these are pretty clearly related. Overall, I'd give Relate a 4, just because of how well that it's able to detect the relationships based on the metadata of the content. Next, we're going to look into the history. History is basically a way for different websites to show the user where they've been and show them how to maybe go back, undo their actions, and refine their results to get a better outcome. Um, so we're going to come back here. We're going to come to all software. Uh, we're actually going to click on here and we're going to go to click on movies and TV. So clicking on this page, what it seems like is it's implying that I did a search that was subject : movies and TV, which is not actually what I did. since I clicked on this from another page of a hyperlink. You'd expect it to say like go back to view the last page you were on. This is helpful in that it'll tell me if I want to search for the movies and TV subject, I can by doing subject colon movies and TV. But this isn't actually how I got here, so that's not very helpful. Um, so we're gonna go show another version of the history, which is available in the forum, which is a place where people post content on the page. So we're gonna look at new post. As you can see, it'll have my name here. It'll have the dates, software. We're going to go through, act like we're adding some files. We're not actually going to add any files. So I've decided I don't want to do it anymore, so I'm going to click cancel. That undoes the file adding. And then I click cancel again, and it says no form selected for posting. There is an error, which uh, is really bad user interface design, as since I was just on a collection page, a forum, it would makes sense for me to go back to that forum page, but that's not actually what happens. It just gives me an error. So there's no way for me to know what the page I was on before if I wanted to get back other than just going pressing the back button a bunch of times. Not great user interface design. Not great to be able to back the user into a workflow that'll lead to an error if you try to get out of it. So that's not great. Next, I'm going to show another thing added to the history, which is if we go to our favorites and click history, it's loading, and it'll show me these different identifiers in this legend of colors based on my item history. It's really not clear what item history means or like what I did to get these different history items. One of them says virus check. I'm not quite sure what that means. It doesn't really mean anything to me. Another good thing about history to include on your website is to explain what that actually means. So this page, this item history, actually means nothing to me. It's I know that my 4 items were finished. I don't really know what that means though. So overall, this website deserves a 1 for the history section, just because of how bad it is to go back to undo your actions. That's not very helpful. Next, we're going to move on to extract. So extract is a measure of how easy it is to share content with either other people, download it to your desktop, export it, or like save it for later, essentially. So we're going to go back. As I was showing you this favorites page, this website allows you to save items to your page, and I favorited this item as you can see, which is good to save for later. That's a good part of extract. And you can also share it on Twitter, Facebook, Reddit, Tumblr, Pinterest, or you can email it and even embed it in your WordPress site or your other sites, which is really good to have, as well as the link up here is unique. So if I happen to type back in this link, for example, it will know exactly where I am supposed to be. And that's really good thing. All the links are unique. You can easily get back to the page, and it's shareable in a lot of locations. So this deserves a 4 extract for all the different methods of sharing pages, sharing content that you can do with the site. For the last one, and I mentioned that this is the one I added to give the website a more holistic review, is aesthetic. So aesthetic, to me, it means how pleasing the web page is to look at, and to make sure that the website's not distracting, the different colors aren't clashing, and basically like the formatting of the website doesn't detract from the content that you're trying to look at. So as you can see through the website that I have shown you, it's a pretty plain website, lots of grays except for these colors here. The formatting's not the best. It's not very nice looking, but that's not to say it isn't functional. And as I mentioned, a lot of Schneiderman's actions are to measure the functionality of a site, not how it looks. So for this aesthetic feature, it doesn't really look the best. There's also some inconsistencies on different pages. So like if I go to my profile here, you can go through uploads, posts, reviews, collections. I have this blue bar at the top. It's also not the best with that. Or you can go to web archives and it's also blue. Um, However, if I come over here to my profile, I'd expect all of this to be part of my profile, as My library is here under uploads and then reviews and loans and everything I would expect to redirect here to my profile. However, when I click on my favorites, there's no blue bar here, um, which is inconsistent with what I would think would happen. Um, so one of the bad things is it's just not very consistent across pages, as well as like repeating content. So you see, I have my favorites here and then my favorites here, and that's not really helpful uh, to me, and it makes it kind of unclear that I'm navigating to this different page here. As well as when you go back on the home page, you click on blog, for example, and it'll actually take you to another site, um, which is inconsistent with how these other pages work, since they just direct to another page on the same site. So that's not that great. Uh, not in terms of aesthetic, but some of these pages are just very, uh, you scroll for a long time to get what you want, and it doesn't look the best. This is just a bunch of plain text with a bunch of blue highlightings. It doesn't look the best, not the great for user surfing or browsing, and not great for scanning at all. So going back on aesthetic, as I said, it's functional, not pretty though. So I'd give it a 2 because it's easy to focus on the page content, and the formatting of most of the pages is consistent, uh, or some of the pages is consistent, but not that page I was showing you before, as well as the different actions you can perform. So overall, I'm gonna go back and highlight what reviews I gave everything. So an overview, I gave it a 3. Zoom, I also gave a 3. Filter, I gave a 4. Details on demand, I gave a 4. Relates, I gave a 4. History, I gave a 1. Extract, I gave a 4. And then aesthetic, I gave a 2. So on the functionality side of things of Schneiderman's user actions, the website did a really great job of being functional and being very feature rich in ways to help the user get the content they're looking for. It's just not aesthetically pleasing on that additional side of things. So that concludes my review. Thank you very much for watching and going through my analysis of archive.org, and I hope you have a fantastic day.